The presenter today is Rajesh Singh from India, and he'll be giving the last in a series on the Principles of Prout, which are based on the 16 sutras of Chapter 5 in Ananda Sutram, which create the philosophical basis for Prout's teachings. And without any further delay, Rajesh, please deliver what you can to us.
Okay. So my voice is clear, Dada? I'm audible?
Very clear, very clear. Please go ahead.
Okay. So, namaskar to everyone. And it's a privilege that I'm going to take session in front of Dada. So that's a real privilege to me. And without wasting any single second, I'm just coming straight away to the principles. As till now, we have discussed 13 sutras of Prout, and today we are going to discuss the remaining 3 sutras, which are the in sequence 14th, 15th, and 16th, or the 3rd, 4th, and 5th fundamental principle which we are going to discuss today. So let me start with the sutra first, which is in Sanskrit. व्यष्टि समष्टि शारोर मांसाध्यात्मिक संभावनायाम चर्मोपयोगश्च. There should be maximum utilization of the physical, metaphysical, and spiritual potentialities of the unit and collective mind of collective body of human society. So we should segregate in words. Vyasti means individual, samasti means collective, sharur it's physical, mansa or manas it's psychic, intellectual or metaphysical, and adhyatmic which is spiritual, and sambhavanayam the potentials lying within. Charmopayogascha means maximum utilization. And the sutra goes as there should be maximum utilization of the physical, metaphysical, and spiritual potentialities of the unit and collective body of human society. Terms are quite clear. In the last session, when we were discussing the crude, subtle, and causal worlds, it was a bit not tougher, but comparatively, we are more familiar with the physical, metaphysical, and spiritual terminologies. So again, physical is individual energy or the individual strength. That is physical. Metaphysical is psychic or the intellectual capacity or the potentialities. Third one is the spiritual potentialities. I will come to it later on with some examples to make things more clear. And Vesti, that is unit, individuals physical strength, individuals metaphysical strength, or the individual's spiritual potentialities. And the collective, again, the collective physical strength, collective mental or psychic strength, and collective spiritual strength of the human society. So human society, again, unit Vesti is one individual, collective a group of people or a ethnic group, or in Prout's terminology, it may be Samaj, which comprises our collective unit. And human society, the entire human society is that which is one, that is human society. So it says the maximum utilization of physical, metaphysical, and spiritual potentiality. So physical potentiality is quite clear that it's the physical strength. What we can do from our physical body is the physical strength, that physical energy lies within. Intellectual or the metaphysical is the intellect part, which is subtler than the physical strength. And we know that knowledge, wisdom, information, a capacity to solve some problems, all these fall within the ambit of metaphysical and the spiritual one. Spiritual potential, that is intuition, subtler than the intellect, subtler than the metaphysical or the psychic level. It's a bit difficult to define or convince people for the spiritual potentialities, but I think we all have heard, or somewhere we have some kind of certain belief that or heard the stories that a person was in problem, a person was suffering with some chronic disease, and someone, a guru, a master kind of person or a spiritually elevated person who comes into the picture and he suddenly solves his or her problems or cures his or her disease. Again, it's a matter of trust. I'm not substantiating it to it, but in every mythology you will find that some kind of subtler potentialities has been widely discussed and has given ample emphasis on it, that this people are going benefited through this spiritual potentialities. In India we have a very popular story, and as I'm saying a story because it need to be authenticated or substantiated, but it must clear that what are the subtler spiritual potentialities are. Uh, there was a lady in a monarch's family. Her name was Meera. She was a staunch devotee of Lord Krishna, and her family was not happy with her strong devotion for Lord Krishna. They poisoned her, even though she was knowing that she has been poisoned. She took the drink, but before taking that drink, she took the name of Lord Krishna and she survived that poisoning. So, this is an example of that subtler spiritual potentiality. So, why the maximum utilization of all these potentialities? As I said, physical, unit, and collective both, metaphysical, unit, and collective both, and spiritual potentialities, again the unit and the individuals or the collective potentials combined together also. This maximum utilization for the sake of individuals welfare and the collective welfare, for the individual progress and the collective progress. If we leave behind some people's welfare, we can't claim that the entire society, the 100% welfare has been done. So, individuals' welfare for the sake of collective welfare, and collective welfare for the sake of individuals' welfare. And as I said, why this maximum utilization? Maximum utilization for the sake of guarantee of the minimum or the fulfillment of the basic requirements, and surplus which should be distributed amongst the meritorious people. That's the reason that we have to go for the maximum utilization of physical, metaphysical, and spiritual potentialities. Another example we can take that in normal discussion we say that Africa is a underdeveloped country. But when we say Africa is an under, sorry, not country but continent, Africa is a underdeveloped continent, it doesn't mean that they don't have the potentials. Their physical, metaphysical, and spiritual potentials has not been used. If their physical, metaphysical, and spiritual potentials utilized to the maximum level, up to the highest extent, definitely Africa, the continent, will be a continent of developed nations. So we have to maximize the utilization of these potentials. So I hope this is clear to everyone. And now I'm moving forward to the 15th sutra, which is Sthul Sukshma Karanopayoga Susantulita Vidheya. Sthul, we have, when we were discussing the 13th sutra, is Sthul Sukshma Karanopayoga Prakartavya. Sthul is crude, Sukshma is subtle, or the Sthul, crude or mundane, Sukshma, subtle or the supramundane, and the spiritual potentiality Karan. And there should be an proper adjustment again amongst these potentials. So this sutra goes by, the exact translation in English is, there should be proper adjustment amongst these physical, metaphysical, mundane, supramundane, and spiritual potentialities. As we have already discussed, the mundane, the five factors, the five fundamental factors, supramundane, the parapsychological potentials, the causal potentials, and this physical potentials, metaphysical potentials, and the spiritual potentials. And the sutra says that there should be a proper adjustment amongst the utilization of these potentialities. So again, let's take some examples to make things clear, or to make the sutra or the principle clear. Suppose someone is physically fit, he is capable of doing the hard labor, but again, if he is physically fit, he has potential to render the physical labor. We need not to misuse or exploit him with his service of physical labor. There must be a prama, there must be a balance, there must be some certain kind of limitation of utilizing his potentials. We can't do that. We should take 24-hour service from him, and he should become ill. So we have to make some kind of balance. We have to make some kind of adjustment, or prama is the right Sanskrit word for that. So we have to maintain some kind of balance. In the case of doctors, or they are the representative of this subtler potential called psychic or the metaphysical. If someone is a good cardiologist, if someone is a good physician, or some other specialized doctor, we can't take his or her services for continuous 24 hours, 36 hours, or something like that. Suppose we have seen it during the corona period, when many people has got ill. There was tremendous pressure on the medical fraternity, doctors, nurses, the other staffs, those who related with the hospitals. They were under tremendous pressure. They worked hard. The last sutra says that we have to desh kal patra, time, space, and according to the time, space, and person, we have to make changes in our utilization. So that was a desperate time. So doctors, nurses gone for the desperate measures. They give their, not only the 100%, but they gave extra time during the pandemic period. But should we make this a trend, that, oh, they have given their time 24 hours regularly during the pandemic, so now it's an opportunity, take their services for 24 hours regularly? No, we can't. We don't have to. There must be some kind of proper adjustment, or the balance, or the some pramad must be there. Same is applicable to the spiritual potentialities also. If someone is filled with or has certain spiritual potentialities, doesn't mean that we need to exploit his potentials. No, there must be some kind of balance. And here is another part also. Suppose one person has physical, metaphysical potentials both. In that case, what the society need to do? In that case, society will take more of intellectual psychic services rather than the physical services. Because it doesn't mean that Prout philosophy undermines the potential of physical labor, or we undermine those who are doing the physical labor work. No, it's not. But as we all know that this subtler potential, the psychic or the metaphysical potential is with everyone. Very few chosen people are there who are bestowed with this metaphysical or this psychic or intellectual potentiality. So if some person has the physical and metaphysical ability or potential both, in that case society will take more of the metaphysical services in comparison to the physical services. And if the a person who has physical, metaphysical, and spiritual potentials, all three combined, what we have to do in that case, as I said, or the Prout philosophy says, that spiritual potentiality is subtler than other potentialities. That is more helpful in the welfare and progress of the society. It might not visible today that what are the spiritual potentials are, how they are going to benefit in the society, how it will be helpful in welfare and progress or development of the society. But it has been said by the Proud propounder that a time will come when people will more indulge into the psycho spiritual practices. Their intuition, that is above the intellect, that is, yes, that is above the intellect. So this intuition part will play a more vital role in the welfare of the society. So if a person has all three potentials, society will take maximum spiritual services from the person, lesser intellectual services, and the minimum or the minimal physical services from that person. So in this way, we have to maintain a prama, a balance, and adjustment, so that every individual's potential and together in collectivity, our potential should also be utilized in a balanced manner. Suppose there is a bridge which connects two countries or two states or whatever. Due to earthquake, that bridge collapsed. And just to connect both the states or both the countries, this bridge need to be constructed at earliest. So what will happen? We will put maximum labor force there. Obviously, the engineers will be there, the psychic or the intellectual professionals will also be there. So everyone will give that extra time, that extra effort. But this should not made a trend. This should not be made a benchmark that, oh, you can do 24 hours, 36 hours service at that time, so you have to do this time as well. No, there should be a balance so that their services should be utilized for the welfare and development of the society. And here, what I missed in the first sutra, which I was discussing, that maximum utilization part, that every individual's potential, the general masses, hardly their 1% of potential has been utilized. And whom we think that they are the great personalities, they have a higher IQ level, even those people like Einstein or Newton or Archimedes or some scientist from India, whoever, like the Shakespeare, Rabindranath Tagore, all these people, hardly they have utilized their 10 to 15% of their potentials. So why Prout suggests for the maximum utilization? Reason being that their potential has not been utilized completely, and there is ample of opportunity to utilize their potential. And here comes into the picture this 15th sutra of the proper adjustment. Why they were not able to utilize their maximum potentials? Due to this vicious cycle of survival, due to this vicious cycle of existence, how to survive, this made their life more cumbersome. If we have provided them more comfort, if society was able to give them more comfort, and they don't need not to indulge into the petty daily compulsions or the issues of survival, they must have been able to give more time to the psychic potentials. They must have invented something more. They must have written something more classical for the sake of the society. So that's the reason Prout says for the maximum utilization of the potentials. But as I said, if we are going to maximize the utilization of individual or in collectivity, ultimately it will be harmful to them. And if it is harmful to them, obviously it is going to hamper the society as well. So we have to maintain a proper adjustment amongst these potentials, utilization of these potentials rather. And now moving towards the this last one, final Sutra 16th, or the fifth fundamental principle, which goes as Desh Kal Patre Upayoga Parivartante Te Upayoga Pragatishila Bhaveyu. Desh, country, space, Kal, its time, Patra, person, individual, Upayoga, utilization, Parivartante, it changes, Te Upayoga, this utilization should be Pragatishila Bhaveyu, should be of progressive nature. So the entire sutra goes as the method of utilization should vary in accordance with the changes in time, space, and person, and the utilization should be of progressive nature. This is the last sutra. We all know that time, space, all these things are changing. Nothing is permanent. Even if I'm talking to you, we are interacting with each other, our lives 30 minutes has already been gone. So it's unchangeable. Oh, sorry, it's changeable. Every second, things are changing rapidly. So in given situation, in such a scenario, if anything becomes stagnant or doesn't adjust with the changing circumstances, there are sure chances of becoming that individual or the philosophy becoming obsolete. So we have to change according to time, space, and person, and which individual or the philosophy or the society changes according to the time, space, and person, that individual or the society or the philosophy is bound to thrive, flourish, and prosper. As I said, that everything is changing, and this is applicable to the human beings and the society as well. And this is applicable to the philosophies as well. Why communism has become obsolete? Other than its inherent contradictions, it doesn't adjust it with the changing time or the demand of the masses, what they call proletariat. So that's the reason they become obsolete. And we all know what is a thesis today. There must, in a time, to contradict this thesis, a antithesis takes place, which leads towards the synthesis. So synthesis of a particular age becomes thesis for another age. But if it doesn't adjust itself with the or changes itself with the demand of the time, space, and person, it is bound to become obsolete. And this very sutra or the principle says that things changes and we have to change in accordance with the time, space, and person. But we have always to remember that this change or the utilization should be of the progressive nature. This should not be regressive in nature. So when it's a progressive, definitely we are going to sustain for long. The philosophy will sustain for long. Here, when I'm talking about the adjustment, adjustment will take place in the side of application part. As there is a crisis between Russia and Ukraine, why I am using the word crisis? Because United Nations has said in their resolution that it's a crisis. No one has said that Russia has invaded Ukraine. So I'm using that terminology from the United States. United Nations. And unite as per the data available, Russia, America, Canada, France, and Ukraine, these are the five highest exporters of the wheat. Suppose for any reason wheat becomes unavailable, so what will happen? Definitely we will look forward for some another food grains for the sake of survival. We just can't think that, oh, after 60 days, 90 days, this invasion or war will be over and again we will eat only the wheat or the bread or the noodles or whatever the uh, products from the wheat. No, so we have to adjust according to the time, space, and person. And here Prout says that the adjustment will happen, adjustment will take place in the application part, not in the principle. Application may change, but the principle will remain same. If ninth sutra says yugasya sarva nimna prayojanam sarvesham videyam, if we have to provide the minimum requirements of that particular age, we have to provide. We can't make changes in the principal part. We can simply make a changes in the or make an adjustment in the application part. That is very much clear. We should take some examples as I uh, took the name of United Nations. Suppose, even though it seems hypothetical right now or imaginary, but we have a world government, and we all know that we have five basic requirements right now, that is food, clothing, education, health facilities, and housing. Suppose the world government decides that we will add one home appliances or an electrical equipment to this five basic requirements. And suppose they adds a geyser or a heater to these five basic requirements. So what will happen in that case? For the people, those who are living in Siberia, living in cold places, those who are living in cold countries where cold is predominant, what will happen? They will happy that they find a geyser or the heater from the government or the society. But what's about the Gulf? What about the nations in the Africa? What are the neighboring countries of Sahara Desert? Again, in India, we have so many desert places of hot places. So this geyser and or this heater has no utility value for the people, those who are living in the hot places. So here we have to be practical with the time, space, and persons. What are the requirements? So the people, those who are living in the cold places, geyser or heater should be provided to them, or those who are living in the hot places, air conditioned refrigerators, these kind of things will be provided to them. So this is the progressive nature of the utilization. Another example, we are connected with each other with the mobile phone through the internet facility. And what we are doing, sitting in different countries, rather different continents, we are connected to each other. This is a progressive utilization of the science. We are not simply wasting our time on watching YouTube videos, we are surfing Facebook and this other social sites. No, we are not wasting our time, but we are utilizing maximum utilization of our potentials time in a progressive nature. So this sutra says that we have to be to keep ourselves changing, to keep ourselves upgrading, to keep ourselves accommodative according to the changes in the time, space, and person. And if we are not changing ourselves, definitely individual, society, or the philosophy is bound to become obsolete. And I would like to conclude this session or this series with the quotation related to growth, that is, the social system that will come into being, keeping parallelism and harmony with time, space, and person, will be called progressive socialism. Growth is that very progressive socialism. And this is the concluding words from my part.